This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jumbo, 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 everyone. Another beautiful morning. We're coming to you live from the Masai Mara, the Mara Triangle. My name is Isaac, and welcome to your live safari from the African wilderness. Jumbo, jumbo, everyone. Another lovely morning. Welcome to your live safari. And to start, I have the tall one, Giraffe, one of my favorite animals, busy having its breakfast. Looks like a female. It's quite hard to tell with that beautiful light. Looks like a male. It's just wonderful. It's a beautiful morning. You can hear the birds chirping, and he's just said hello. Remember, this is a live safari coming from Masai Mara. Talk to us on hashtag WildEarth. Also, you can send in your kids' questions at kids@wildearth.tv. Also at FC. Our weather is quite good today, 16 degrees Celsius, just perfect to start a good morning. You can also send in questions through our website. They'll be analyzed and they'll be asked in due time, and we'll answer you right here on Live Safari. Jumbo, I'm Isaac, and on camera I have Bungay. Our mission today is to find the 3 big male lions that crossed the river about a week ago. And apart from that, we'll also be looking for, Jasidi. Hopefully, we'll be able to see him today. It's a wonderful morning, and I have a big journey of giraffe scattered in these plains. That is a male, definitely. And they are enjoying their morning browse in these plains. Lots of water and moisture in the leaves and grass. And so it's just perfect for them to take in as much as possible because, giraffes don't drink water. They don't depend on water unless they're forced, and so it is perfect. Everybody is starting to go on game drive, so everybody is heading out. There's a bit misty way down there towards the Mara River. Linda Jumbo, thank you for your comment. This is gorgeous. Yes, indeed. It is beautiful indeed. Sometimes you lack words to put into this kind of picture. Yeah, these giraffes love this spot where I am. I always find them here. They never go for more than a week without coming back to this area. They are scattered around this spot. There is more than about 15, very spread out right now, and I think everybody is trying to find a bush of his or her own to browse on before the sun heats up, and so they can stand and chew their cud. Looks like that guy is being choosy. He's moving from one bush to the other. I think he's got lots of choices, and that's why he's moving quite a lot, sampling different bushes. There is another one there who is quite busy. You don't see any coloration in these giraffes. It's because of the sunlight, but they do have them. And this is the Maasai giraffe, one of the the 7 species of giraffe found in Africa. Very common here in the Masai Mara. It is endangered. Every time I see them, I always remember that we have quite a handful of them. Considered how big East Africa is, we only have about 30,000 and above of them. The main threat that has been facing them is habitat loss, human encroachment to wildlife areas. And when I say habitat loss, people collecting building materials, cutting down trees that they eat. Also cutting trees for charcoal, cooking purposes is the main threat facing this beautiful animal. They are fighting a very strong fight because we are seeing a good number of them, a good number of young ones coming back. They are quite numerous in these parts of the Mara, and it's a very safe area for them. Somebody is having fun there. Tour à la balloon. Ginny, is there a big difference in temperature from morning to evening? Good question. It raises about double, it doubles, almost doubles, because right now the weatherman says it's 16. By the time it's around 2 o'clock, it's going to be around 28. But by the time it's 5 o'clock, it's going to go back to 18. So it changes very fast, and being at the equator, explains all that. We don't lose, we don't lose many hours or minutes. Our time remains the same, and so by the time it really warms up, it's about time to start cooling down. So it doesn't really change much. Mind you, also, our weather pattern here is quite tricky and interesting, because you can wake up and have this kind of weather, then all of a sudden at around noon we have clouds, and there'll be rain at 2 o'clock, and then at 4 o'clock again, the sun is out. So we can have about 3 weather changes very close to equator. So it can change very fast, but it doesn't change, to extremes. It's just enough. Doesn't get really below 15 and doesn't go, above 32. So it's just perfect. Yeah, that's a beautiful scene there. think I'm going to start on my mission. And while I do that, let's take you to another live location for one of my colleagues to introduce him or herself.
Dumela, hello and welcome to a wonderful and fantastic morning here in Tswalu Kalahari. We are about to start our mission here too. Good morning, my name is Carl and behind camera is David. And we are embarking on an amazing what we can find here on this vast and wonderful landscape, which is Tswalu. The new beginnings or rebirth from Setswana, which is amazing and very diverse language found within the Northern Cape, predominantly, but is very widely spread through South Africa itself. So myself and David have decided to go a little bit further down south. We'll scratch around at a pan first, tracks we can find, see who's been in and out there, and then I think we're going to shoot a little bit further west into the dunes. We're going to go ride the wonderful and undulating landscape. All the birds singing at the moment. There's a lot of tracks that have come in and out here as jackals, steenbok, duiker. And then what I'm really looking forward to is the insects. After these wonderful rains that we've received, 2 weeks, let's say, we've had some decent rains. And this is just allowing everything to be really, really pushing the limits of growth, busting at the seams, so to say. But the sun about to say good morning to us. Reaching those big, beautiful arms over the Coronaberg and pulling itself up and over. And it's getting earlier and earlier every morning. Sooner or later, guides will be waking up at 3 o'clock to make sure that they're ready to rumble for guest activity. And obviously, we'll be following that same line, ensuring that we have the most productive period in which to find animals. The dawn chorus is full on way, so a lot of Kalahari scrub robins. There's 1 or 2 barking geckos still from the evening that are trying to make their presence known, or that the rest of the individuals have gone to bed. And then obviously that very prominent call in South Africa, the ring-necked dove. Drink lager. All right, we're going to send you off to an amazing location, and we'll see you guys when you get back this side.
Good morning and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. As you can see, we've come across a lioness who is currently staring at a poor little Ngala that is busy alarming at her. She's unfortunately lost her opportunity to hunt her. My name is Kim, and behind the camera we have Craig, and we will be with you this morning. It's actually a beautiful, crisp morning here. Quite nice and cool. I can see that there's a bit of cloud cover. We were just driving along one of our main roads of the reserve, and we came across this lioness lying in the road. And if you have a look, as she's walking, watch just below her belly, you can see that she's got very heavily sagging skin and very prominent teeth. So this is our one lioness that was just given birth. She's busy denning somewhere. Slowly starting to get moving this morning. As I said, that impala has seen her, so she's certainly not hunting the impala. Seems like she's just found some sort of swamp in the grass there. Anyway, can't say what this line is. You see where she gets going. Hopefully she's going to lead us to offered you perhaps a hunting opportunity with you. Oh, she's actually going after the impala. We're going to send you to another live location and we'll be back with you shortly.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a soggy, wet Djuma Private Game Reserve. It's overcast, but the clouds are clearing. Blue sky is on the horizon, and we are sitting here with Miss Tswalu, the Duchess of the West. I am sitting in all the vegetation here, which is not very fun, but my name is Lauren, and I do have Theo on camera, and she's a very busy bee this morning, as Tswalu always is. I think she's hungry. She's spotted something. Her tail is twitching. Wouldn't it be great if she actually made a kill today and we were able to spend some stationary time with Tswalu? She's really not the easiest cat to follow through the block. It's summer here now. It's so thick, it's so dense. There's some of the blocks you were able to follow animals through in winter. You can no longer do that. Now, when I say Tswalu, it means termite man in Shangaan. So we have Tswalu here sitting on a Tswalu. And we call her the Duchess of the West because her territory is mainly to the west of us. She only pushes into Djuma from the western side. But of late, she's been pushing further and further in. Now, it is believed that she doesn't have any cubs anymore, which is terribly sad, I know. But I imagine we'll see Tswalu mating again, and she'll get ready to have her next litter. Now, Tswalu is a very large leopardess. You may not be able to see it sort of from where we are looking, but if you compare Tswalu to Tlalamba, she's large. She has large paws. She's tall. She's a really big leopardess, especially compared to sort of Tandy's lineage. Now, just like Tandy lost a litter of two cubs that we never really properly got to meet, and she got pregnant again very quickly after that, and that's normal. So I do imagine Tswalu will mate. Her main options here are most likely Mulwati and Hukumuri. Just like the last time, if she mates with Hook, she'll probably spend a lot more time in the west, which is not great for us. But if she mates with Mulwati, she may spend a lot more time on Djuma, which of course is good for us. Oh, here we go. Good morning, Duchess. I have a tree in front of me, so we're not exactly going to be able to follow her very far. But hopefully she will head to quarantine and we'll be able to catch up with her very soon.
Good morning and welcome to andBeyond in Ngala, where we've had some good rain this morning and now there's a little bit of a break in the clouds, so we're currently busy looking for termite mounds and hopefully some alates erupting with lots of good bird activity nearby. I'm Yapi, and behind the camera we've got Sebastian, and we thought that we'd take a drive along the bank of the Timbavati riverbed this morning. And at the moment, there's a lot of insects around, so there's a lot of small birds out on the road. But I'm hoping that we might find some of the larger birds of prey trying to take advantage of that situation. And then of course, if we do come across any signs of lion or leopard or any other large mammals in this area, we'll gladly take that as well.
Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to you here in the Masai Mara of Kenya. We have the Ololus. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. This is the spot where we last saw them yesterday morning. But the elephant's pool that was close to them actually came and dispersed them. So later on in the night they regrouped, and I can see they're staring at something, but I'm not quite sure. When lions are in big numbers like this, they will often hunt like once every 2 days, or sometimes on a daily basis, because there's Olashe, there's Kijana, and about 6 lionesses. So I'm happy that these lionesses are all regrouping back together, and I hope soon the entire pride will come together, because it consists of about 17. Because Olashe and Kijana have teamed up with them, so I'm sure they feel more comfortable now. And soon, we haven't seen them 6 together in a very long time. We've always seen them in 2s, in 3s, and sometimes 1. So that's a good indication that they're slowly coming back together. That is what we call Mama Kali, the collared one. So when he got here, Kijana was here, and he walked into the long grass. Probably time for rest. Maybe they had a very long night. So right behind that log, that's where Kijana is. And you can see there's another lioness there. So I'm going to hang around with these Ololus and see what they're up to as I take you over to another live location.
Well, from lions to buffalo, Cape buffalo I have here, and there is one with an oxpecker, looks like a yellow-billed oxpecker. The yellow-billed oxpecker, you can easily identify it by that 2-colored beak, yellow and red. The other one is red-billed oxpecker. It's not here, but it's pure red bill. Yeah, the Cape buffalo have got a home range, and they move around their home range enjoying grass that is in abundance. This herd is quite huge, but they're quite scattered, and I'm high up. I cannot see all of them, but there are so many. At this time, most of them would be sitting down like that big bull there, enjoying the morning sun and listening to the sounds of morning. What you see here is called what we call a breeding herd, which is very big, can be quite big, and can range from 1 to even 2,000 in different places Over here we see a good 1 to 800. If you want to see huge herds of buffalo, you can go to Tswalu Game Reserve in Tanzania. There I have seen, more than 2,000 in one big herd, and they are not threatened. Here looks like they're chewing their cud, very much like cows, while looking at me as I talk about them. This is an animal that's a pure grazer, and after filling its large intestines, it will relax to regurgitate and chew its cud, like making sure that everything that it has taken down is properly utilized. Anywhere there is grass in Africa, you'll find this huge grazer, from sub-Saharan Africa all the way to southern Africa. And they can be very, very heavy, up to 900 kilos. Not intimidated by many predators. Their main predator is lion, but whilst there is other small game, they are very, very safe. Very dangerous. They have been known to cause most injuries in lions. That guy looks very sleepy. Look at that. Or maybe he got injured. Yeah, the oxpeckers, he really welcoming them. I think he lost one eye, looks like it. The oxpeckers play a very big role. There is those parts of many animals that they cannot reach, like the tongue cannot reach the ear, the horns, and they have ectoparasites, like, pepper ticks, blood-sucking ticks, and other bacterial that affects the skin. These birds play a big role in making sure that they read them before they spread disease, and that's why they're very welcome. It's a mutualism, kind of symbiosis. That guy definitely, I think he lost his eye. I thought he was winking at me. Interesting tongue. Looks like he's enjoying the morning. Well, I'll leave him to enjoy the morning, and I'll find something else.
Shadulu's busy scent marking on this marula here, scraping, urine. And Sutu, who has changed so much since I last saw her. I can't believe it. Sutu's no longer fluffy. I mean, she's almost 2, or I think she is 2. But her hair has got so much shorter, and Sutu just walked past Shadulu here and did not see her. Yes, she can clearly smell a leopard. Oh, here she comes. She's coming running. She saw her. Sutu's running. I don't know why you're running, darling. You can't climb trees. Okay, let me... it's another vehicle there. Sorry, everyone. Sutu, you were a bit slow in the uptake, my dear. I think I'm just going to reposition slightly so that we can see Shadulu, and... Oh, we can see her. Perfect. She hasn't got a kill. There's no food here. But as I mentioned, every time hyenas follow the scent of leopards, they know it leads to food. Every single time. So she didn't catch the smell of a kill here. She caught the smell of Shadulu herself. I can't believe how different Sutu looks. It's getting older now. Random stuff I like. What a wonderful name. You're asking how old is Shudulu. Now, she was born around September, October, not exactly we don't know which date, but around September, October 2014. So that would make her 6. In her prime, she's dominant. Her father is confirmed by Panthera to be Anderson, who was a very well-known male, not in this area, but a little bit south, and he was a huge male. It's believed that Anderson is no longer alive, and her mother was the Ingrid Dam female. She's the mother of Kara, a leopardess that we often see in Simbambili. And Kara is very much independent now because Shudulu went on to have another litter, which we believe has not been successful. But although Kara's independent, she's not territorial yet. It takes time for a female leopardess to set up their territory. They have to find an area that's got fantastic access to both water and food, and also she needs to understand the neighbours. The most important thing is the neighbours. Who are the female leopards in the area? Who are the male? It takes time. And then once a female really becomes territorial and sets up a territory, only then is she said to sort of give birth to her first litter. Shudulu, out of all the females here, I feel is the one that loves to just rest in the trees. She hops from tree to tree to tree, termite mound to termite mound. She's a busy cat. Oh, here we go. That branch wasn't good enough. We want to go higher. Don't have to reposition. Jad Impala. Yes, impala. Medium-sized antelope, especially right now because there's lambs everywhere. It's really, it's a feast for the predators. But leopards are very opportunistic, especially in comparison to your cheetahs and your lions. I'm not sure we're going to get a view so easily since there's other vehicles, but they're said to eat up to 92 different food resources, from reptiles to birds to fish, insects. Okay, let me try and go around this way. Give me a few more seconds. Okay, let's just see if we can give one last view of Shudulu here. It will not be the best, but there she goes. She's up on this branch. So as we sit and admire our Duchess, we are going to send you across to Trishala for a beautiful silent segment.
come back. So we've lost that lioness. She went up, almost roughly up to our right. She's probably denning there. As we were leaving, we came across this beautiful sighting of 4 different rhinos. There's quite a significant size difference amongst them. If you have a look at the one on the far left is quite small, actually fairly similar size to the one closest to us. And then right in the middle of those 3 you see a tiny calf and then a fully grown rhino at the back. So it's a mother and a calf, are the ones off to the right, and then these other 2 are two little sub-adult rhinos. So what's happened is that they've actually been separated from their mothers. Their mothers most likely have just given birth to new calves, and once the rhino will give birth to a new calf, she'll actually chase her old calf away, and they have to be independent from that point. Now you can imagine they still feel quite young and vulnerable. This often happens when they're about 2.5 to 3 years old, and so these 2 are around that age. So they've been chased away by their mothers, and they've bonded together for added security, and they've actually joined on to this female here just for that added protection. You can see that they've favored this area. Now, if you have a look, there's lovely, very short little grass that's growing through here. So this is an area that we've recently burnt. We do that to help control bush encroachment. If you have a look at the small trees around, these are trees that encroach, and what actually should happen is this area should be a big open plain, and to try and slow the growth of all these bushes through this open plain and restore it back to what it used to be, or what it was originally. We've burned this area. Now you can see that there's really nice green grass shoots growing through here. It's making really nutritious grass. And so that's what's drawn these rhino here. They've got wonderful feeding opportunities at the moment, and I'm just slowly enjoying it. You can see how close that calf stays to its mother. It's always quite interesting with rhino calves in particular. You don't see them venturing too far away from their mothers. They often like to stay right close, and I think it's got something to do with the eyesight. You know, they've got quite poor eyesight, and I think that leads them to be a little bit vulnerable. You know, you'll see with other young animals, they do tend to venture a little bit further away from their mothers, including young giraffe. You can actually see them stay sometimes 100 meters away from the mother, even from a very young age. And if we're looking at the size of this young rhino, the back is already quite a bit higher than the bottom of the mother's belly. So when they're about the same height as the bottom of the mother's belly, you can say they're about 3 months or younger. But it's quite a bit higher, and I've had a look and I can't see the second horn growing. So the second horn will start growing at about 1 year old. So this rhino is definitely younger than 1 year, older than 3 months, quite a bit older. So I would say maybe 5 or 6 months old. So still quite a young rhino calf. But certainly it's already started to feed on grass. You know, that also happens from about 3 months. Jiga, we are very lucky here at andBeyond Phinda in that we have got an incredibly low rhino poaching rate. If you have a look at all these rhinos, you can see all of them have been dehorned. Some of their horns are starting to grow back, but we do continually dehorn all our rhino. And as a result, we have extremely low poaching on the reserve. We've also got a fantastic anti-poaching team that do a phenomenal job here. And that combined with the fact that we have a very good relationship with our local communities. And we've got 5 local communities that we do work with continually through our foundation called Africa Foundation. And so our whole belief in our business model is that if local communities benefit by having conservation near them, then their interests will reflect your own. So they will also look after the reserve. And what has happened is that if they hear of any poaching or planned poaching activity, or if they see anyone suspicious, they actually let us know, and we can set up a sting operation and catch the guys before they're even on the reserve. So all of these combined, we are very lucky in that we don't really have to worry too much about rhino poaching. Of course, it's always a threat, but it is something, it's quite a privilege that we have here, is that we are able to show rhinos on TV without too much worry from our side. And we also, it's quite nice from, as a guide's point of view, to be able to sit and watch these rhinos and not worry about, what their future holds or what's going to happen to them next full moon. We can just sit and appreciate our beautiful animals and know that they are quite well protected here. But it's lovely to hear our viewers, concerned about the sort of turmoil that our rhino population is facing on a whole. And it is certainly something that we need to always be conscious of as conservationists. But luckily for us, for right now, all we have to do is sit and appreciate it. Rhino, through honk sneezes, I have heard them do sort of a huffing call when they're a bit distressed, and the young rhinos also do sort of a whine. So a honk sneeze, I suppose one could describe the call like that. It is something similar, but it's more exhale that maybe sounds sort of similar to a sneeze, but there is certainly a vocalization of that nature that they do. And it's often, when they are distressed, you'll see when female rhino feel that perhaps another rhino or a male rhino is too close to her and her calf, she'll sort of do that whiny and then that sort of exhalation. And then also a young calf, if it suddenly realizes it's a bit too far away from its mother, or it gets quite curious and decides it's actually quite nervous, which happened to us yesterday, got quite curious about the vehicle and then decided it didn't like us, then sort of gave one of those exact calls and then did a little bit of a runaway, which is often very sweet to see. So that is sort of the vocalization that they do. Otherwise, they're pretty silent animals. You can hear the sounds that you come to expect from a rhino. It's just more them walking through these low-lying bushes, just that scraping. And then if you're very lucky and you're close enough, you can sometimes hear them chewing. You can hear those oxpeckers that are calling just on the top of the rhinos. Often one of the things we listen out for when we're looking for rhinos, we're trying to be a little bit alert on foot. So these rhinos are now disappearing off into this thicket. And I think what we'll do is we're going to head into another section of the reserve and see if we can maybe look for some cheetah or some other lion this morning.
Welcome back. And look what we bumped in. Like David said, it's wonderful when things just work out and plan out so easy for us. And it's really an amazing thing. We're very lucky, busy traveling south, and we just bumped into these two male cheetah. And at the moment, they are flat cats. Some wattled starlings going across there. So these guys are flat cats. These are the two dominant males within this area. Oh, good morning. And they're just moving through this area. Obviously, male cheetah like this are territorial, and these two males are the dominant individuals within this area. So being in a band of brothers like this, you're a very dominating force. So obviously to ensure that you can hold onto a territory, and that gives you access to females and as well as food. But right now, relaxing is the main order of business here for these two boys. Oh yeah. So cheetah is sleeping like that. It shows you that these two boys are very relaxed, because you'll hardly ever find cheetah putting their heads down like it, because of the high risk that it possesses. Obviously something sneaking up on them is a very dangerous thing. So vigilance is very important for cheetah. Obviously they are subject to a lot of negative impact from larger carnivores such as a hyena and prides of lions. So these guys are feeling very relaxed right now and have taken their time, and they have the luxury obviously just to remain like that. So what we're hoping for is something stumbles in here and they get a boost of energy and do something. But if they don't, that's okay. Botswana, Botswana. Woodstock, do animals get bored? Maybe. I would think so. Maybe they do get bored. I don't think it's really boredom, but I think it's just taking the opportunity when you do have it, like these two boys over here, when you can relax and conserve on energy. I think they do. I don't think it's a form of boredom like we experience boredom. I've never experienced it. If anybody's experienced an animal having boredom, let us know. Drop us a message there. But I think it's just having the luxury of saying, okay, I don't have to do much now. Let me take it easy. Because if you had to fight every day for your own food, your own resources, when you do have the time to sit still or lay down like these two male cheetah here, you're definitely going to take the opportunity and relax to the max, so to say. But I'm not really sure if animals experience boredom. What do you think, David?
I think yes.
David thinks yes. David thinks animals experience boredom. In dogs, I guess dogs get bored and they can nag you to go out and play, or they bring the ball to you. Experience that with our dog Luna. But these animals, I don't know. There's a lot of factors every day they have to deal with there. So constantly being on alert, constantly having to strive for survival. Because if you think about these animals, every day is a fight for survival. If you do not capture something, or you don't move enough, that's tickets. So really, each day that an animal like this, it lives past that day, it's a huge achievement by my standards. I think it's remarkable how resilient and how driven animals are. And that's obviously hunger and reproduction that drive those factors. The sun is just starting to warm up now, and it's just making a beautiful scene for us to enjoy these two males. We're going to send you off. We'll see you later.
Welcome back to the Mara. Our lions are beginning to be active. I can see some of the lionesses up mobile. So she just left her spot and then went to a latrine. So Kijana has woken up. And there's another one just being mobile. I can see Mama Kali just watching around. You can see that one also. She's picked a perfect spot for a latrine. She's on the move, but the sister's playing a stalking game now. Allo grooming that enhances the bond between members of a family or in a pride. Prepaid, how are the different pride names? So basically the names vary because of the area that they're always in. So for example, overlooking all my right, that's the Ololo escarpment. So this pride always hangs around this area. So it was named Ololo after the area that they're in. So the Owino, they live, or they always roam around where we call Owino. So that's the reason why they're called the Owino. The Bilashaka, there's a place called Bilashaka. So basically, it's where these lions are always found. So they're named after the particular area. And then naming individuals, so guides and also visitors who come here pick up a name, and then everyone just calls that particular species, be it a lion, be it a leopard, they end up calling it that name. Sometimes we give suggestions, and then the majority always wins, so we end up using that same name that has the majority vote. With all the lionesses regrouping in this manner, we promise that unpristine is the Asian lion different from the African lion. I'm sure there's just a little bit of difference, maybe in size and location. So basically, we just have to see just slightly smaller, because we find that the Asian lion is a little bit smaller. The African lions are a little bit bigger, especially the males. And the mane of the African lion is always big and dark as compared to the Asian lion. So basically I would say that size and the color of the mane mostly on these two species. I can see some zebras over to where they're looking at, but it's a long distance away. Not quite sure if they want to head that direction. They're still enjoying the morning sun. It was very cold this morning. It rained last night. So to find a good spot where they can sun is actually good for them. See every lion looking at different direction, trying to check if there's prey. So it's going to be interesting when they all become mobile. And also an advantage that they have is when they out like this in a big number, then there's success in hunting. So let's see what they're up to. If they're going back to sleep, pick a good spot where they can rest, or maybe they're going to be mobile by what I can just see. Taking you over to another live location.
Well, from lions to hippopotamus. And my hippopotamus is trying to hide in plain sight behind that tuft of grass. He's been standing there. I think he thinks I cannot see him. But I do see him. Where he is perfect for him to be, because there is water. I'm sure there is some, little puddles that he can hide if he wants to. But looks like he's headed back to the river, and he wasn't very sure, or he is not very sure of my presence, and so he has decided to stop and wait it out. And I'm sure he might outwait me because he's got all the time. Yeah, it's the hippopotamus you see here. It's not the only kind we have in Africa. We have the pygmy hippopotamus that is found in West Africa. I'm not sure exactly which country, but it's a very smaller version of this guy. Only weighs about maybe 300 kilos, very small and very funny, very interesting. The first time I saw one was in an orphanage in our capital city in Nairobi, and you cannot believe the stare I gave it because they were feeding it, those food human feeds animals, cabbage, lettuce, carrots, and it was so close to me I had to stop there for about half an hour and really have a good observation. It's very small. The skin is very, very smooth. I didn't touch it though, but it looks so. And the canines that these guys have were much, much smaller. And it was nice to see it, but it was very interesting version of this guy. Didn't look very aggressive, that's like these guys. So we do have another different type of hippo in Africa called the pygmy hippopotamus, and it's found in West Africa. This is the sort of behavior they portray, hippos. When they hear movements, they'll just stay still, and then at the last minute, they'll just pounce or just, surprise you. And usually that's how they get many, many people. You can tell his skin is already drying up because the sun is getting too hot for him, but he's gonna go towards the water. Here, they don't have to go very far. There is grass everywhere, so they don't have to go very far. But in drier areas, hippos have been known to wander long distances out of water in search of grass. They are not fussy on grass. They eat any kind. Definitely that is a male, and males are very territorial. Outside, they don't hold territories, but they do actually mark to assert their presence or to actually advertise their presence by defecating in bushes here and there. And while defecating, they normally urinate at the same time. Using their fan-tailed tail, they spread the mixture quite intensely around that area, and so that always tells either pod members or other males of their presence. And males only do that. Females sometimes do it anywhere, in water, outside, out where, anywhere in the open they do it. But coming out of water, they have this trail, a traditional trail that they follow, and they're very loyal to that trail. They're always following it, and so within a very short time they wear it out. It looks like a train has been walking because they don't move like other antelopes, like they step on different sides. Hippos move side to side, so they're always making a track, looks like a train. And once they reach a certain area, then they move out of the track and start grazing. But out there, they don't really fight for territories until they go back to the river. Definitely this guy is listening. He might look very big, very slow, but hippos are very, very, very fast. It's one of those animals I don't want to meet on foot. In Africa, they can appear anywhere. As long as there is water that's flowing, a hippo is one of those animals you can wake up and you have one in a pool that you always go to either fetch water or have a bath. It looks like he's irritated by that oxpecker and he's getting more of them. Sometimes they can be a nuisance because if there is a wound, while trying to get rid of those maggots that have laid eggs, they actually start sucking blood and making the wound larger. So they can be negative and positive to the hippo. You can tell it's very soggy and swampy there. I'm sure he's trying to find a spot where he can lie and those birds can fly away. The oxpecker is a bird related to the Bushmen and also a tribe called the Ndorobo. We find them here in East Africa. They are the kind of hunter-gatherers. You know, an oxpecker can lead them to a beehive, and also it can lead you to dangerous game like buffalo. So it is an bird also they associate with that. And they live or they nest in hollow trees. See how quickly he's trying to be Houdini. He's trying to disappear on us. This is what makes these guys very dangerous. You know, while lying like, right there, if you didn't know what to look for, you just walk. Maybe you want some sage grass out in the village. You think it's a rock. And when you get close, a surprise, yeah, not very, very good. I think he's gonna try and make himself comfortable there. Live. Can hippos go to the ocean? Well, I'm sure they can, but they cannot go deep. They'll stay in the shallows. It's something I need to find out. My answer would be they can, because it's still water. But I think they'll be led there by a tributary to the ocean. And so either they'll be on the tributary to the ocean, close to the ocean, just touching the ocean. But being in the ocean would also be quite tricky for those, big males that have got wounds, because the water is salty. So I don't think they'll be really comfortable staying in that water. But it's such a good question. I would say yes, very close to the tributary of the ocean. Because he has hidden, I have no otherwise but to move on and try and find my male lions. They were seen, about 3 days ago by Tim along this stretch. I'm hoping they'll still be out. And so you can see them. It's one of those animals that you'd want to find it out in the open like this, and so that you can see their nice big manes and properly see their facial features so that we can identify who they are. Remember, the new coalition has got 5 males, but we've been seeing 3 only. Yes. Well, it's warming up. It's a wonderful morning. This is the area we call Maji and Ndege, and Maji means water and Ndege means bird. So you combine it, it's called Maji and Ndege. And if you're a good twitcher or ornithologist, this is a very good area to come and look for water birds, because there is many swamps. We We're gonna take you to another live location as I head my way to find these lions.
It's also warming up quite nicely here in the sands. Well, we've got some blue sky ahead of us. Shadulu's fast asleep. And Sutu, for some reason, is persistent and adamant to stay here at the bottom of this marula. There is no kill. There's no food. I'm not entirely sure why she's staying here. But Sutu, I just checked, and she's almost exactly 2. She was born in December 2018. Her mother is June, the one with the floppy ear in the Djuma clan. So she's reaching sort of adulthood, but for a female it's normally around 3 before they are sort of sexually mature. Now there's so many leopards here on the property and surrounding properties, I don't actually know what to do. I don't know whether to bumble around them all, whether to spend more time with Shadulu. I'm torn. The game drive radio is going crazy, as is the Franklin behind us. Sutu, darling, there's nothing here for you. I think maybe you should follow the doggies. The doggies we had last night at the very end of drive was the Pungwe pack. And of course they were up bright and early and crossed into the West Arathusa before any of the vehicles went out. But wouldn't it be nice if Shadulu bumped into Tingana? However, I believe he's fast asleep at the dam. Everybody's fast asleep. Now, Tingana being nomadic, he could absolutely mate with Shadulu if she was receptive and in estrus. Brandon, you're seeing 2 enemies napping together. It appears that way. Are they really enemies? I'm not sure. They are very familiar with one another. I think the hyenas absolutely love the leopards. But that feeling is not mutual. But yes, 2 enemies napping together for absolutely no reason because there's no carcass. Now, there's a leopard over in Torchwood, there's a leopard on Chitwa. So I think maybe I'll take a bumble, go say hi to other leopards, and then maybe we can come back and hopefully Shadulu will still be here on this gorgeous marula tree. See, because the marula's got leaves and it's so thick now, you could easily miss a leopard who's napping up in that tree. She's just gorgeous, but there doesn't appear to be any suckle marks. We know that a hyena, June, Sutu's mother, did take one of her cubs, which was very sad. It was a sighting with Tristan, and it's also believed that there was another one that didn't make it. I know it's really, really sad, but it's actually quite common in the animal kingdom for cubs not to make it. And the mothers will just go on to have another litter. The birds are especially noisy because the weather is clearing up. The rain has stopped. We got drizzled on. And normally once the birds start to wake up and the rain has stopped, that's them advertising their territories. I'm still here. I made it through the night. This is still my territory. Don't go thinking otherwise. I can hear the woodlands kingfishers everywhere, but I haven't spotted one yet. I haven't got my first one on camera. I think Trishala was the winner of that competition. It's starting to drizzle again. I can feel the rain coming down. I really don't understand what's happening with this weather. Shadulu's probably loving it. I imagine rain or the water, the droplets, will feel good on her skin to a certain extent. Especially if she's got parasites or maybe some wounds or some itchy, scratchy bits. I think they will relish rain. Maybe not rain all night, because then they'll just be wet and soggy, but otherwise, I do think when the rains come, they relish it. The cooler temperatures. Somebody's extremely sleepy. Ashley, cats don't become melanistic. Melanistic is when you normally have an entirely black animal, and as the name suggests, it's due to melanin. So it's a sort of too much of the pigment melanin. They don't become it, they would be born that way. And for leopards, believe it or not, the black panther actually refers to a melanistic jaguar in Latin America. But if you use the word black panther in Asia and Africa, it actually refers to the black leopard. If you use it in North America, it can refer to the black jaguars or pumas. So there's no such thing as a black panther. It refers to different species that are melanistic. And the opposite of melanistic is actually leucistic. And it's a genetic mutation. So you don't become melanistic, you are born that way. And I'm sure melanism is actually a Greek word, or it's being derived from a Greek word, and it just means black pigment. So that's where the word melanistic comes from. So you get melanistic leucistic, which is a lack of pigment, and then you get, well, you can be an albino, which is absolutely no pigment whatsoever. So it's a genetic mutation, and those genes have to be passed on in order for an animal to be melanistic. And you can find black leopards in many places, even in Ethiopia. But if you look really closely to a melanistic leopard, from a distance it appears all black, but actually if you zoom in, you will still see the outline of the rosette patterns. It's just the rest of the coat is entirely black. But the term black panther is almost like an umbrella term, if you like, and it refers to any big cat in the Panthera genus that's got melanism. So that's your leopards, your snow leopards, your lions, your jaguars, and your tigers. But I believe the highest area where you can find black leopards is in Asia. It's not Africa. It's not even the jaguars in South America, but I think Asia has the highest population of black leopards, melanistic leopards. But leopards like Shadulu here will still recognize a melanistic leopard as a leopard, and that's of course not through vision, it's through chemical cues. It will still know that it's a leopard even though it looks entirely black. Birds can also have melanism, where a bird that's not normally entirely black will have completely black plumage, and it's just far too much melanin pigment. Extremely peaceful watching Shadulu sleep. I need to be careful I don't fall asleep myself. I think we're going to let Shidulu snooze and we're going to bumble on and say good morning to another leopard. Okay, so you're staying with us, apparently. So we're not going to leave Shidulu right now. I take back my words. Now, there's lots of studies that actually go into melanism because, of course, white reflects and black absorbs. So a species like leopard here, like Shidulu, the coat is not entirely black. So how would it affect a species? Of course, will depend on the environment if they are entirely black. Will it affect their thermoregulation? Will it affect their camouflage? Even although we can see Shidulu very clearly eyeballing Sutu, she's really camouflaged when she sort of weaves in and out through the thicket. And then when you have leucistic animals, they have to be very, very careful with the sun. There's no protection. Melanin gives the protection. So you do find a lot of leucistic animals, but albinos are said not to survive too much out in the wild. I had an albino rabbit when I was younger, a Californian buck. No pigment in the eye, no pigment in the hair, no pigment in the skin. So we had to really look after him in the sun, although in Scotland, to be fair, there's not much sun. But whenever the sun did make an appearance, we had to be really careful because he had no protection, no melanin at all. Whereas with leucistic, there's still some. So it's partial loss of pigmentation, if you like, not full loss. Being an albino is full loss of pigmentation. We've actually got a leucistic little elephant calf that we see from time to time. It will probably still have to be very careful in an environment like this. Again, for thermoregulation reasons and protection from the sun. So we really are going to bumble on now, but we're sending you across to the beautiful Tswalu for another beautiful silent segment.
WildEarth leaving Shidulu on open lot.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. So as you can see, we have had even more luck for the morning from looking at lions and then finding those rhino. And now we've got 3 beautiful elephant bulls in this beautiful setting. And what's lovely to see is that this one without the tusks right in front is busy playing with the water and is giving us quite a show. Look at that. You can see as you watch his tip of his trunk, he's very gently, it seems like he's trying to get the very tip of the water. And he's throwing that mud right over himself. Oh, the reason he's doing this is you can actually see, as we're watching, you can see the sun starting to come out from behind the clouds. I can literally feel the change in temperature in the last 10 or 15 minutes. Starting to heat up a little bit. And this elephant is now throwing some mud over himself to cool himself down. And I think those other 2 bulls might join him just now. Just listen to that. You can actually hear him suck up some of that mud. You can hear that flapping of his ears. I have to agree with, or quote Timothy right now, and just say that any day that you see an elephant is a good day. Especially elephant around water, they're always so interesting to watch. You can see those 2 standing next to each other. Some quite significant differences that we can note. See the one on the right, how much smaller the trunk is in terms of thickness. And also just in size, it's a little bit smaller. And if we have a look at the body, you can see that the skin's a bit more tight around the belly. It's not hanging as loosely. Didn't have such prominent indentations in the forehead as the one on the left. So it's quite a bit younger, possibly around 20, 25. Actually a bit older than 20, I'd say maybe 25. And the one on the left is an older bull, maybe 35, 40. Could even be a bit older than that. Critter freak. I really enjoyed your comment there. I agree, I enjoy that elephant bull because he does have such character. Now, I think he must have lost those tusks because there is such a gene, that's a recessive gene that's passed down through elephants, where they're born tuskless. And it's actually was more prominent in Mozambique after, the huge trade in ivory, because obviously that gene was favored. Those elephants survived more than the elephants with the tusks because they just weren't hunted, because why would they be hunting without tusks? But it does seem very prevalent in females, and there's a few cases of males having it, but it seems like it's actually more in the females. So I think he's lost those tusks in a fight. Look at them drinking now. Always love watching it. You see how they sort of suction up that water. Now look what it's doing with its trunk. Actually see they're trying to get as little mud into that water as possible. They're trying to take the very top of the water and sort of stir, like use a bit of motion in the water to sort of let the mud float off to the left, almost trying to get a gap, mud-free water. Jason, thank you for your question. And it's actually a tie between rhino skin and elephant skin and hippo skin, if you can believe it. They all at their thickest part have about 2 inches. So that's the thickest possible skin that we found in a terrestrial mammal. And it's a 3-way tie. So I think, on different parts of the animals, they'll have different thicknesses. But yeah, at the thickest part, they'll have about 2 inches. And you can see that there's some really thick segments of skin around these elephants. Often why you find very few ticks on elephants, and you never see oxpeckers. They're not one of the animals that actually allow oxpeckers onto them, so you won't find oxpeckers on elephants, partly because there's very few ticks that will go onto them, and the ones that do are not elephants won't allow the oxpeckers to actually settle down. They'll flap their heads and move around so the oxpeckers can't get a good perch, and they've learned over time to not even bother with elephants. I just love how both of these elephants have got quite a lot of mud all up the front of their trunks there. They seem to have left the rest of their bodies alone for now. There's not a huge amount of mud there. I think there's so much going on around them. There's this lovely luscious grass, lots of little bushes that they're feeding on. I don't think they're in any hurry. So they might still do a little bit more mud wallowing a little bit later. Oh, look at that one on the right. It's giving itself a good scratch using that fever tree. You can see one of the softer parts of the elephant is that ear, and it seems to have got an itch sort of on its ear or on the side of its face. It was rubbing up against that tree, just giving itself a good scratch. I feel like this image right now is one of those ones you find on sort of an Amarula bottle or something. Just these elephant bulls walking towards you in this beautiful open plain with this prominent fever tree and a little watering hole next to it. Dr. Pastrami, no, once an elephant's tusk is fully grown, it's sort of like our human teeth. If they've lost the actual tusk itself, then it won't grow back. So while they're continually growing, they grow out of its bits chipped off, whatever's remaining that still had to grow will carry on growing. But if they've lost the root, or if it's finished, if it's completely grown and they've broken it off, then that's it for them, unfortunately. So they only get one set, and they've got to be very cautious. And as you can see with this mixed group, there's certainly some wear and tear that happens to these tusks. I mean, we can see the one on the left has no tusks at all, and the one on the right that's just walked up to the watering hole has lost his left tusk. So he will only have one tusk for the rest of his life, assuming nothing happens to that one. Which is a pity, because actually if we have a look at that tusk, it's really impressive in terms of its size. He's got actually a massive tusk, so it's very sad to see that he's lost one of them. It's quite a genetic thing, the size of tusks. I hope you all heard that. I'm actually going to be quiet for a little while because we might hear it again, that mud splashing onto the back of his skin. how often he actually touches that part where he's missing his tusk. It's sort of like when you lose a tooth, and you often put your tongue on that spot and feel that little gap. Very similar for elephants. You often see them put their trunk in that little gap as if to feel where their tusk was. Algebra, I've never heard of a female elephant being rejected. You know, the one most amazing thing about elephants is that oh, look at that. Just as I was talking about their social structure, they go and show how affectionate they can be, even these young bulls, or older bulls actually. But no, in the social structure of elephants, you know, the females bond for life. Once you are born into a herd, you will stay with your sisters and aunties and mothers for your entire life. I've never ever heard of a female being rejected. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You know, if one of them becomes very ill or sick or can't continue to follow the herd, especially when they have to migrate over large distances, you'll actually see that the herd will slow down and wait for that individual, especially the mother of that calf or whichever one's most closely related, will try their very hardest to make sure that all of the family members stay with the herd. So they've got an incredible social bond, and it's quite amazing to see. And especially if you read all these books about, you know, people who've researched elephants and the bonds they've come to know and what they've witnessed, there's some quite unbelievable stories. It's one of the reasons I personally love elephants so much, is I do think they have their own sort of elephant emotions. You know, we can't say they're the same as human emotions, but it's ones I like to think we can relate to on some sort of level. I hope you're all enjoying this as much as I am, because this is one of those scenes that sort of take your breath away. I just love spending every minute I can with elephants. And especially, you know, 3 bulls like this, they're so peaceful. Just happy to feed. So close to us. It's quite amazing. So you're going to have to give these elephants a little bit more space just now. And I have heard something come over the radio that they found something not too far from here. So I want to go and see what that is. And we're going to send you to another live location with a wonderful peaceful segment with Tswalu, sort of carrying on from the serene setting that we've got right here.
Welcome back to the mother. We have a lone elephant bull. He's resting, and sometimes elephants can sleep standing, although we've seen sometimes them lying down to sleep. So when they pick up spot like this, the sun is not too hot for him, so I would say he can be resting, and sometimes they can be sleeping. He's fanning, not that much. You can see he's opened his ears, so the wind is blowing actually from the back, where it's easier for him not to be flapping his ears, just to cool off his blood vessels. The cool air that is trapped between the body and the ears makes it easier for him to cool down. So in that way, he doesn't use lots of energy fanning. Look at how he's resting his trunk on the tusk. Very, very nice. So this is the behavior that most bulls always do. Very nice as he's walking towards us. Very interesting. Sniffing the ground, maybe wants to pick some sand there. So when they want to dust themselves, sometimes you can see the posture of his front foot. They will kick the ground, they will dig the ground with their feet just to make the soil loose, and then carry on. It's time to feed. Look at how he's dusting it off on the tusk. He's picking some solanum incanum. Not so many animals eat solanum, so elephants actually prefer solanum, and sometimes elephants can be considered destructive because the small trees that grow on the ground, before they germinate fully, elephants eat them. But in other case, elephants help in seed dispersal, they help in afforestation. You find that some seeds that might spend months and months before germinating in the soil, so once they go into the elephant's stomach, they help remove the casque out, so it's easy for them to germinate once the elephants defecate. And you find most of the time after the rains, we see lots of new trees, new shoots popping out from the elephant dung, also which acts as manure. He has amazing tusks. Mary Beth, this is indeed a beautiful and amazing animal. Look at how close he is and how selective he's feeding. He's now picked the termite mound because no animals actually get that high, especially the grazes. So it's easy for him just to select whatever he wants. Bulls are considered to eat even more than females. They can eat up to about 400 kilos. Sometimes they're not even to eat at about 500 pounds. But females eat a little bit less than these bulls. So when you want to differentiate between the bulls and the cows, on the lip and where the trunk falls in between the two tusks, on the bulls is more wider than those of the cows. Is doing that with ease. You can tell the grass is so soft here. So you can see the color of this termite mound grass and the one that is just to the right of the elephant. On the termite mound is rich of nutrients because termites also help in fertilizing these soils. So you find that most of the time on the termite mounds we also have fungi that will be growing on the termite mounds, which sometimes we see as mushrooms. So the farming that goes on in the termite mound is very, very dynamic. Tri-states. How close is the elephant? Close to me. It's about 4.5 meters. Always when such bulls feel comfortable. They can sometimes even walk close to the vehicle. They can touch the grill whenever they feel comfortable. So these bulls walk long distances from where we always find them. So they don't have territories, they don't have a particular spot where they'll use or utilize like a territory, but they have what we call home ranges. Oh, out in the distance there's two buffaloes fighting. See them chasing one another. Come on, get off from my home range. Looking size comparison between the two. They're both considered to be the big five, but you can see the size difference. Looks like a bit of a standoff between the two bulls. I was talking a bit earlier about these bulls joining other bulls, where they will always walk into small groups of what we call bachelor herds. Sometimes they can be 4, 5, even 10, depending on the size of the range where they are. But then they walk long distances, walking from herds to herds. But then once in a while they will come back or get back to their natal herds, where they'll hang around with the members of their family and then carry on, because bulls, when they get into adolescent and they graduate out of their natal herds when they're about 11, sometimes even 15, leaving the natal herds, they'll be wandering off by themselves, but always join big mature bulls who lead them and introduce them to bachelorhood. They learn so much from the bulls, from mating etiquette and much more. So these bulls will come into mask when they're in their mid-20s, preferably maybe sometimes 25 and above. That is when they'll first come into mask. Even though they've not come into mask, bulls are able to mate with cows. Preferably, elephant females will want bulls with more experience, especially the matriarchs. They're the ones who select who to mate with, and older bulls always get into their preference. So the presence of older bulls in bachelor society is very important, because young bulls that have not yet reached into mask have lots of inexperience, and that sometimes can be a problem where there's no strong gene, because those younger bulls are not yet experienced, they're not old enough, they're not the biggest that those elephant females that in a particular region, in a particular area might choose or seek to mate with. So the presence of old mature bulls is very, very important. Previously, we saw him eating the small shrubs, the solanum or the sodom apple, if we call it in the other names. Now he's turned into the red oat grass. So elephants can feed on leaves, trees and barks, and as well as graze. So they can be browsing and also be grazing. That comes in handy, especially in different time of the season. When coming into the dry season, elephants will debark trees, they'll eat leaves on trees, and during the time like this, when we have adequate rain, they'll eat on the grass, because it helps them more, especially on adding up nutrients into their diet and into their body. I always like spending time with elephants, especially young bulls to older bulls, and even families with young ones. So this is a little bit of an excitement for me, spending time with these bulls. So I'm going to take you over to another live location.
Tim, I could not agree with you more. I also love spending time with elephants, especially the bulls and the younger bulls. Always so interesting. It was sad to leave those elephants just now, but we decided to come and see what the other vehicle had spotted just up ahead. And we came across this herd of buffalo, which is quite phenomenal. You know, you within sort of 100 meters or a few hundred meters of those elephants, and you've got another one of your big five. As you can see, it's not a massive herd, fairly big. I think you can probably see maybe 40 sort of individuals, around about that many. You can see they're all just slowly feeding. You know, it's still the cooler parts of the morning. So what they would have done is, in the early hours, they would have gotten up, last night they would have found an open patch of grass. They've all rested for the evening, ruminated. And the bulls on the outskirts protecting the females and the younger buffaloes within. And then now, from early this morning, they would have started moving through these areas, slowly feeding on all this grass around here. You can see when the herds spread out like this, that's exactly what they're doing. They're just slowly feeding, finding some nice nutritious grass.
Welcome back to the Mara from the Lone Elephant Bull. This business of mongoose just came out of an abandoned termite mound. The reason we call them business of mongoose is because look at how busy they are. They're always super busy foraging. They have a very interesting behavior when they're foraging and feeding. So whoever comes across some food becomes the winner and actually gets to eat. So there's no aggressive behavior whatsoever. Whoever finds food, so whoever finds gets to get that prize. Sometimes you can see them foraging on the ground because there's lots of dung pile, and in those dung piles there's dung beetles. They always eat dung beetles. They eat small scorpions. They'll eat on snakes. It's very interesting when you see them coming across snakes. I've seen not once, several times where they come across big snakes like cobras, pufferdas. They always have what we call an alpha female who would always be leading them, and also have the alpha male. So there's always rivalry between mating competition into the mating group and the rival males that come from other mongoose family. They're always on the lookout because they fall prey to the big martial eagles. They fall prey to wild dog, but we don't have wild dogs here. Sometimes leopards go after them. So they have to be keen when they're traversing those grasslands. I've seen them nibbling on carcasses sometimes. Of course, that is to add some few nutrients into their diets. Just going to get a little bit closer because they're walking fast. So these are the banded mongoose. We have the dwarf mongoose. We have the marsh mongoose here in the Mara. We have the Egyptian mongoose. We have also the nocturnal one called the white-tailed mongoose. Everyone is busy looking for food. So sometimes when they're walking like this, they establish their own territories by scent marking. And that scent marking can also be used as communication between individuals and members of a family like this. Sometimes these numbers can fluctuate depending on some different factors, but if they increase like this, you find that groups will split up and females going to form their own population. They're going on to find their own, to form their own groups and family, with always rival males from other individual groups coming in. There's always one who will always be on the watch, one that always will be sentinel, checking for raptors, big birds of prey that will always go after the mongoose. Tummy reminds you of raccoon. Yeah, they kind of look like raccoons. Sweet potato, what are they eating from the grass? They are actually foraging on dung piles. There's lots of dung piles there, so the dung beetles that will always be on the dung pile are the ones that these mongoose are going after. And sometimes we can see them pushing over rocks, because on the side of the road there's some rocks, and there's some spiders sometimes, and also some few scorpions that might be found there. So this is what they are looking for. Butterfly, what a big family. So banded mongoose might live in mixed sex group, which sometimes can be individual up to more than 50 individuals. So in these groups, you find that the older females always come into estrus first. So the alphas will come into estrus first, and they always have the biggest litter. So you find sometimes if a member of this group becomes pregnant or falls pregnant before the alpha or the mate or the lead female, she gets unhappy, and sometimes she can force that individual, harass them until they abort, they lose their babies. So she's the one that comes in estrus first and gets to mate first, and then the rest come into season. So they also have what you call synchronized birth. So we find that most of them will give birth in almost the same time. In this time of the rain, you find that there'll be lots of millipedes, lots of insects, and sometimes terrestrial birds that nest on the ground, their eggs fall prey. Let me just push forward a little bit more. It's a very interesting group here. How many babies can a single female give birth to? Only one at a time. It's also interesting to watch them as they forage. They forage in one big group, but every member has to find the food alone. So this banded mongoose always forage in the morning, and they're very active in the morning, like right now. So they'll spend a few hours foraging for food, and then later on they'll pick a spot where they'll rest under a shade of a tree or maybe a bush.
From mongooses to the tall one here, I have a good tower of giraffe spread out in these beautiful plains. This looks like youngsters, about 1 month difference, and it has been a good year even for giraffe, because we've seen quite a good number of young ones. And they're already eating, lots of browse, but right now looks like they're just enjoying the sun. It is an area full of different shrubs here and there, and so it's a very okay spot for them to be in. Yeah, when young like this, they're very vulnerable to all the predators, lion, leopard, even wild dogs, hyenas will bring down this size giraffe. But the adults are always not very far for protection, and giraffe is one of those animals you don't underestimate. When they have young, they can be very, very aggressive, even to big predators like lions. They can kick, and also they can get away by running. Yeah, always nice to see them walk in the plains like this. They have amazing eyesight, and with their height, it's a good advantage. Nobody really hunts them, or they try to get away from most predators. Yeah, they have a long gestation period, about 14, 15 months, and they give birth almost every about 4 or 5 years. Over here in the wild, it's very tough, so they live about 20 to 25 years. In captivity, they might live longer. Yeah, that female has decided that he needs to scratch the ear. It has become itchy. The itch has come at a very convenient spot. At that height, it's the only animal that can utilize that roughness of the tree. You can tell about a foot below the neck, there is a very brown spot. There's a different in coloration. That's where the elephant reaches. And so the giraffe can utilize that upper niche. An added advantage, you have your own scratch spot in each tree that you can share with anybody else. They are very spread out. They are all out enjoying the morning grass. Yeah, there is something I spotted a long ways down that direction, and I think I would like to catch up with it. It looked like a cat. And in these plains, you only are allowed off-road when you see cats, and stopping to observe giraffes, and then there's no cat, I can be in big trouble. So sorry, I have to find the cat fast, so in case the authorities catch me, I can say I was heading towards the cat and I saw the giraffes. sounds like it can be a very valid, answer. But definitely there was something. There is many trees, but there is that tree. I saw something there, and then it went down. I'm not sure what it is. Looked like a small cat, the size of a cheetah, but I'm not sure until I get there. These are LY plains, and best place to see cheetah. I think it's better off for me to take you to another live location as I try and find my cat.
So welcome back to where we are. As you can see, slightly on the edge of the road in the grass, there's a tailed end of monitor lizard, the Nile monitor lizard. So I'm just waiting to see what she's up to, or he or she is up to. Let me just pull a little bit closer. The monitor lizard is here. Very well camouflaged. It's too dark there. There's lots of very fresh green grass there. Probably maybe went under the culvert. You can't really see him. He's gone under. Big James is telling me that he's walking out on the other side. See how it blends in very well with the grass. Terrestrial birds and sometimes crocodiles' eggs will fall prey to the monitor lizards. Laura Mora, yes, this is a very shy lizard indeed. Let me just pull back a little bit. A shy lizard indeed. It was nice seeing that lizard, but I'm sure there's so much that he wants to do at this time of the morning. They'll be looking for food, but just carry on to find something else. You never know what's hiding behind these bushes, so I'm just driving slowly. This is where we normally find Romy, but she's been shy for a long, long time. So on my mission to find Romy, let me send you over to another live location.
So we tried to have a look for some alates erupting this morning, but we haven't had any luck. And we went all the way down to the western part of the reserve, but with the rain last night, we haven't had any signs or any fresh signs this morning. Everything's been rained out. So we were lucky enough to hear from one of the others that they managed to find part of the pride that we had yesterday that we were looking at. And this is the part with the two youngest members of the pride at this moment. So we have actually just arrived, and we are quite excited to see what might happen here. And there we go, right underneath the shade of a magic worry bush. And as always, one little one with its head up, and a big female right in the middle of the bush. Taking the best part of the shade for herself. Now it looks like she is panting quite heavily. You'll see her whole body moving, the mouth's open.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. As you can see, we found another elephant bull. We are a little bit curious as to what's happening here. If you can hear that, it's making a very irregular noise as it sucks. We watch again. And I'm trying to figure out what is happening. I've never heard of an elephant making this noise before. I wonder, because now, you know what? I think this is one of the watering holes that we pump water into. And it's putting its trunk over the pipe. So I wonder if it's actually just the sort of suction going on between the pipe and the trunk itself, and there's like a bit of a vibration that's going on in the trunk and the pipe. It's the only thing that I can imagine. I've never heard of an elephant making this sound. You can see he's actually lost a bit of skin by the tip of his trunk. He's going for the source because that's the cleanest, freshest water. You know, you can imagine if you were drinking from a tap, you'd want to drink straight from the tap before it gets into like a muddy pile of water and drink from there. So that's exactly what this elephant bull's doing. Lovely. You can actually see all the little bits of this elephant. He's got massive tusks. What's drawn my attention now is his toes. A really good view of them. You don't actually ever pay them too much attention. Safari kitty, it's quite a good question. I haven't seen any of the sort of golden tuskers that you hear about in Kruger. I've always wanted to, because elephants are my absolutely favorite animals. And I've always really wanted to see a golden tusker. But I think the biggest tusks I've ever seen is maybe a similar size to these ones actually, but possibly 20 or 30 centimeters bigger. We've got an elephant on the reserve called Leo, and he's got pretty impressive tusks. But I don't think this is him. He's got a swollen foot. Oh, no, it is. I look actually at the back left. This is my favorite elephant, actually. I should have recognized him from his tusks, but if we have a look at his back left foot, you can actually see there's a bit of swelling there. He's got a bit of a foot injury. So our oldest elephant that we have on the reserve. We've also just recently released two tuskers from Tembe Elephant Park onto the reserve to try and broaden our genetic pool and get a few more mature males. So apparently one of them has massive tusks, and I haven't seen him yet. So I'm looking forward to see him, and as soon as I do, I'm assuming that's probably one of the bigger tusks that I've seen. Oh, I'm so happy to see this bull elephant. Like I said, he's the oldest one on our reserve. He's just past 50. He's about 51 now. And I just love his temperament. He's always so completely relaxed. Nothing ever seems to worry him. There was a period when we were really worried that sore foot was going to get the better of him. He spent a lot of time sort of just sitting still in the middle of a watering hole. Imagine a nice cool temperature of the water on a wound like that. It's a joint issue. And that took away a bit of the pain. And also I think also putting the weight off of it helped a lot. I think we're going to sit and appreciate this for a little while. I always love spending time with this elephant bull. And I think I'll spend a bit more time here while you go and see what else the other rangers have found for you.
Well, from majestic big bull to hyena. This is the spotted hyena. And there were two. The other one is lying off to the right. You won't see him. He's hiding really well. You can see only the belly. An animal that has been misunderstood for many, many years, but it does very, very well. Over here in the Mara, most of the food they eat, they kill themselves, apart from taking them from other predators like lion, leopard. Up there in a distance, where that Land Cruiser just crossed, there was a cat. I don't know where it is now. Maybe it's gone to the right, Bunge. I don't know. There was one. We don't see it anymore. And it was one of two cats that, while I was watching the giraffes, I saw one stand up, and actually it is true. I have another one on top of this tree, and you can guess what it is. You can see the tail, the white tail there hanging down, and the head. I'm going to show you the tail. It's there. So I have a leopard, and actually there were two. That's the body, and that's there. That's him. He's looking at me. See movement? How beautiful is that? Yes, now I'm appreciating what we normally say, that we have lots of leopards, but because of their good camouflage and too much cover in the Mara, we don't see them. But just to see two in one morning here is pure jackpot. I cannot tell you the gender. It was just there. There were two, and one ran away. This one is very relaxed up there, but he's very alert. This is one reason we never get to see them here. If they're up there, you're always looking for that branch where you see them dangling and hanging. But, you know, they can be hiding. I don't know if he wants to come down, but he's really, really focused on us. I hope you can see it. It is a leopard. This is the opposite behavior being portrayed here from the big shepherd's tree male I saw the other two, like a day ago. This guy looks very shy, and he's not, taking his eyes off me. Apart from the hyenas and me, I think he would be gone. They're not used to vehicles, and I don't think he wants to sit out there in the sun for very long. But I have a very good distance because I know their behavior. They can come down that tree, and if you're too close, you might be on the receiving end. Yeah, so it's amazing to see one right on top of a Balanitis aegyptica tree. Yeah, there was one seated on the ground. That's the one I saw, and I thought it was a cheetah. Then it went up, and when the hyenas appeared, it ran away. We came to investigate more, and we discovered this one on top of the tree. It could be a mother and a suckling cub, or it could be a mating pair. Those are the only two reasons that bring two leopards together. This is an animal known for, temper, very dangerous. Especially here, they're not exposed to vehicles and humans. And they have territories, very huge territories. They will, one another's territories, especially females. But males protect the territories with all they can. The main prey here would be impala, warthogs, and Thompson's gazelle. A very active animal at dusk and dawn. What we'd call crepuscular. They are active at that time. Very successful at night. They are very, very good stalkers. I'm sure you've heard all these things from my friends in Southern Africa. They see them all the time. And the biggest giveaway to leopards when they're on trees is always that tail. You see it there. Many guides look for that. Apart from the body, we always look for that hanging tail from top of trees. Once I've been here long enough, he might raise his head to have a better look. But at the moment, she or he is still very shy. Yeah, there is a plane flying by. Are you gonna come down? Remember, I've given it a very safe distance, just in case it decides to come my way. I think this is a very good find for me, and I would like to experience the behavior of this leopard. And staying here a few more minutes will give it more confidence, maybe to show itself. And that's what I'll do. Let's take it to another live location.
Talking of shy animals, definitely not these Mongoose, but we were actually just with a leopard cub. Now, it was in the vegetation. It's either Tandy's son or Kuchava's son. I couldn't quite tell, but I did take some photos that I'll post later, and you can all help me ID. But unfortunately, we were just in such a tricky spot that it just didn't work signal-wise. Another update, Hyena Den was not active. And a further update, no luck on Olivia. I keep trying and trying every day. I couldn't see either parent today or any signs of Olivia, but I think it's very possible that they've just moved a little bit further along. So I think this afternoon we'll just put the car in low range, we'll do a Dylan, we'll stand up and we'll just check every single part of that mulwati. Now the mongoose, I think, have just woken up. They're sunning themselves or trying to dry themselves off on this fallen over log. It's important that mammals get vitamin D too. And that can come from just 20 minutes in the sun. Not the peak hours, not between 11 and 3 when it's, well, even 10 and 3 here, when it's piping hot. But just in the morning when they first wake up, they just spend a little bit of time sunbathing. And a lot of the animals out here will do that. I mean, the reptiles have to. But when it comes to mammals, you will find that they do bask in the sun for a little while. It's important. So although we didn't have any luck on our other missions that we went on this morning, I think we'll just bumble down to the dam and see if we can find Tingana. They two are fighting. Can you see them, Theo? Oh, they've stopped now. Two of the mongoose are fighting one another. Or should I say wrestling? I think we've got some youngsters here. Yeah, they look like youngsters, very small. Good morning. Oh, see them fighting, Theo, just to the left. Oh, they keep hiding under the log. They are just everywhere. Now, summer's a huge feast for dwarf mongoose. All the scorpions will come out. I haven't seen any scorpions, spiders, beetles, centipedes. I haven't seen any centipedes yet either. But I wonder if this little bout of rain we've had the past 2 days will flourish the land. I'm still looking for termites. Haven't seen them. They're still active. They're just inside the mound. There mustn't be enough moisture yet for them to start actively coming out of the termite mounds. Push that one off the log. Shame.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm closing down.
You're so welcome, Finotti. There's just mongoose everywhere. I think this is quite a big group. I think there's a lot of youngsters in this group as well. Well spotted, Theo. Okay, we're going to let these very busy mongoose go about with their day and try to find the Duke of Djuma.
Well, yes, there was a lot of movement from this leopard. I don't know what it's trying to do, but you can see it's on top. It was trying to come down. I don't know if it's going to come down, but looks like a very, very, very shy one. If you miss it, you won't see it. And I don't know if it's going to try and hide a little bit more or come down. Yeah, there's lots of movement there. Here, when you find a leopard, sometimes, it's the only one you'll see for quite some good months. Looks like, I don't know, he has relaxed now. He's not coming down. It's hard to tell exactly what is happening there. Yeah, or you can see the tail. The twitching of the tip of the tail, it's a good sign that it's not very happy. Yeah, it's not very happy. And it's trying maybe to come down. And the main reason maybe it doesn't want to come down, it's because of those hyenas. They think she or he's got something on the tree and they want to take it. And so it doesn't want to come down, and also it's trying to hide as much as possible. Yeah, you see, if you didn't know there was anything there, you would easily, drive past that tree. See, look at that. That's how good they can hide leopards here in the Mara. When they go on top of that tree, you would hardly see them. It's lifting its head slightly there. It's a bit of movement. Looks like it was trying to get comfortable so that its camouflage can work. Doesn't look like it's going to come down. Looks like it's getting comfortable. This is where you wish you had a drone and fly it 100 meters up in the air and see what it looks like, from up there. Can you imagine? But it's nice also that drones are banned here. Yeah, I can tell how it's peeping, trying to judge and gauge what's happening. Well, I'm going to stay here a little bit. Nature is amazing, and sometimes you don't always have to hear us talking, so let's turn you to another peaceful, silent moment of nature in South Africa.
So we've spent a few minutes with these lions here now, and every now and again there's a head up or down. You can see there's a little one. He's been moving around quite restlessly. But I think it's because they are unbelievably hot at this stage. And you notice in there that one's fast asleep in front, and the one at the back, the larger one, that's his mother. Now she's been turning around to try and get a view of him. But we saw her panting very heavily earlier on, and as they were moving, noticed that they had a full belly. Haven't seen any signs of lions feeding this morning. Haven't heard any interaction, or we haven't seen any vultures nearby, so I'm sure whatever they ate was something small. But usually after eating, what they're doing now is exactly what we see them do. They eat such massive amounts of meat in one go, and afterwards they got almost no energy for anything else but digesting. And even though the digestive process is fast, or relatively quick, it is certainly very energy consuming. But also it's such a humid day today. We had a bit of rain this morning, and it feels like we might get more. I think these lions are struggling extra hard. Now the insane thing about this young lion is there's a leopard tortoise just to the front of him that I've only noticed now. And I would love to see if that young lion notices the tortoise. I'm sure the tortoise hasn't noticed the lion. So let's see how well that little male lion's senses are developed. That shouldn't be far. That should be maybe about 2 to 3 meters away from him. I'm not sure what that tortoise is feeding on. It looks like the leaf of some large, it almost looks like a lily type of plant. It might be that the tall grasses in front of the cub's face is just blocking the view of that tortoise. Or maybe he is aware of them. Ear is moving, so it might be that he's hearing something, but he's not looking in that direction. And it's amazing, that tortoise is completely unaware of. I wouldn't say that that little lion really poses him a threat at this point, but it certainly might be a very uncomfortable foreseeable future if he doesn't watch out. And I can see his sister's up as well. She's looking in his direction, the mother as well. I think the mother's trying to find a more comfortable position.
inside, so we don't see her. And there she goes, very fast. Yeah, there she goes. There. That's how shy leopards are here in the Mara. What a nice surprise, and also a nice ending to see her portray a true wild leopard behavior, stopping to have one last look, and there she disappears. How amazing is that? I'm very glad that we got to share her runaway, and that is why we never get to see very many. They are here. They have this good camouflage on top of that tree. Unless I didn't see the one that was below, it was impossible to note that there was another one in the tree. And also when they hear you coming, they go down low in the tree. You don't see them, but there are very many. I hope one day we get to see her again, but that was amazing. Super cool. I'm so excited that she got to stay, she got to come down, and actually she had a nice exit route, so she wasn't pinned in between. Okay, let's take you to another live location while I try and get to the track.
So there was, for a brief moment, there was a real chance that leopard tortoise might have had some uncomfortable game that it would have become part of. That young lioness over there, and I'm calling her a young lioness because essentially the instincts, everything's there, it just needs to be developed. But she picked up on it, just as it moved away, and it moved around where her brother was laying. And she's still staring in that direction. I'm not sure, I don't have any view of the tortoise at the moment, but I'm sure she might still have. Where her brother, I don't think he even noticed it in the slightest. You can see he's starting to settle in the shade now. Now today, that's stuff you can never say for sure what these animals will do, but I don't think that these lions are going to go anywhere from where they are. I think to reserve their energy and to deal with this unbearable heat, they're going to do as little as possible. And this is a really, really good opportunity coming their way. It is a very good spot to be. They're well hidden, as we can see with this little one. And those ones, you can hardly see them except for the one that's asleep a little bit out of the shade. But this is an area that's quite busy during daytime. Lots of general game. And we might even come back later today to see if anything's changed.
Welcome back. So we're actually still with our elephant, but as you can see, we've focused in on a bird in the background because it's caught our eye and it's incredibly interesting. It is a hooded vulture, and what's super interesting is that we're actually outside its distribution. If you have a look at the Roberts Bird Guide, we're just slightly south of where it should lie. This is the first time I've ever seen a hooded vulture on the reserve, so it's pretty exciting. Always nice to see a new bird. They're quite common in the low-veld areas, but certainly never seen one in Phinda. And it's immediately distinguished by its size. And you can see it's got like a very small head, sort of pink down the front, and it's got brown plumage on the back of its neck, which makes it a juvenile. So quite an interesting bird to see, always really exciting. I'm quite excited to actually see if we've had a recorded sighting of a hooded vulture on Phinda. I've never heard of anyone seeing them here before, but it's possible, certainly over the many years. And what's quite incredible is that this elephant has been drinking the entire time that we've been sitting here. So you can actually see it's getting very small sips of water. And they can drink up to 100 liters of water a day, sometimes in one sort of sitting, in one little pool of water.
Welcome back to the Mara, where hippos here in the Mara River are scrambling over for space. You can see the river is drying up, or the water level is going low. So normally when water level gets low in where these hippos will be, either a river or a pond, you find that they'll all be gathered at one place where there's a suitable place, resting position. You can see it's a little bit slanted on the riverbed, where at least the hippo can get air, can get cool on the water while still lying down. Unfortunately, these rivers are seasonal, so sometimes the water levels get too low, where hippos, sometimes you find them out in the bushes for shade, because it's too hot and open on most of these rivers. So during that time we find there'll be lots of fight. Everyone's scrambling on very little space. So you find the big dominant bulls always fight the subordinate ones or the younger bulls. So space becomes minimal and fight becomes intense. But this pod here is quite much relaxed, because I think there's a suitable position. Further downstream I can see some other hippos walking slowly, heading towards this pod's direction. What's an easy way to differentiate between a male and a female hippo? So the easiest way when hippos out on land is actually looking on the genitalia. So the penile sheath on the male will always be exposed, you can easily see, and then bulls are always bigger than the cows. So you find that here in the water you find that the dominant bull, or mostly bulls, will always be big than the females. So the easiest way is just looking at the genitalia. Let's see what will happen if those other hippos walk into the pod will happen. So just watching closely to see as I take you over to another live location.
We're having the most incredible sighting. Look at this. Look at this. It's protecting his babies. This is so magical. Water monitor and a thickney. I think it's a water thickney we've got here. Protecting his babies. There has to be eggs nearby. Wow. There's nothing quite like seeing mothers protect their offspring in the animal kingdom. You see how it's bending its legs right down? You see that? And using its wings. Technically, that monitor lizard could hurt the bird. Must be protecting eggs. That's one of the most incredible sightings I have ever seen. Now, the nest is normally just a simple scrape in the ground for water thickneys, made by both the male and female, and it can be lined with vegetation or mud or sometimes not. It's very simple, just like Olivia's nest, scrape in the ground. Now, the water thick knees are quite obvious by their long, long legs. Thick knees, you see that? They've got a bulbous sort of joint at the knee. And it almost looks like they're wearing very bad eyeliner from the 90s that I probably used to wear. White eyeliner all over its face, going down its beak. It's a really, really easy way to identify the thick knee. But water monitors absolutely would eat birds' eggs, 100%. And crocodile eggs, all sorts of eggs. It's the perfect snack for a water monitor lizard. Wow, can you believe that? Magic Bean, you're right. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. We actually just stopped for the monitor lizard. We're in the area looking for Tungana, but no luck just yet. And all of a sudden, the monitor lizard got in the water to swim to the other side. And on came the thick knee. I think maternal instincts in the animal kingdom are just, they blow my mind. In every single group of animals, from fish, mammals, amphibians, reptiles, birds, that instinct to protect your own. I wonder if it's going to go to the nest. That's what I'm waiting to see. I wonder if there is eggs. It's running far. Oh, nicely done, Theo. Following its reflection. I can't see anything, to be perfectly honest with you all. Not through my binos at least, but wasn't that just amazing? Bird versus reptile. Now, Tungana could have moved because it's getting very, very hot. Apparently he was full. But we are just going to reposition and try and scratch around a bit to see if we can find the Duke and his beautiful tummy. The lizard's back. I don't know if it's going to head to the lizard again. We do have a giraffe watching in the distance. Do you see that, Theo? Watching the whole scenario play out. Hello. Mr. Giraffe? You see everything, don't you? See all, hear all, know all. Okay, I think we are just going to make the remaining use of the time here to look for Tungana. It's going to take a bit of search, and I've got some instructions. See if we can find our spotted cat. He's here somewhere. We just raced to see that cub that we weren't able to show you, I'm afraid. So wish us luck. Hopefully we will be able to find the Duke.
Welcome back. We've stayed with this elephant bull, and if you can believe it, he is still drinking. I think it's been about 20 minutes, maybe even longer, that we've been sitting here watching him drink this whole time. As I was saying before, it seems like he's not getting a huge amount of water from each of these, great sort of suctions that he's doing. Clearly the water's fresh enough that it warrants this amount of effort. I don't think he's in any rush in any case. But like I was saying, they can drink up to 100 liters of water. And normally, a trunk like that can actually take up to 10 liters in one gulp. What they do is it's very much like a straw. When you put a straw in your cool drink and you suck up, and then you put your finger on the top, and then that pressure holds the liquid until you release that sort of block at the top. That's exactly what's happening here. He's suctioning that water into his trunk. He's then holding it, and as soon as he lets go of that pressure, it then rushes down. So he's taking very, very small sips. I think, the pipe's only so big it can only fill up with a certain amount of water. You can see as he's putting it into his mouth, we're not seeing a lot of water falling out. There's not a lot of dribbling, which you normally see as they pour water into their mouths. So I think it's just very small sips at a time. So instead of, having a huge amount of water, he's just having very small sips. So to get to 100 liters, it's going to take him some period of time. Algebra girl, I've never seen an elephant trip on its trunk. I have seen very young elephants sort of not know how to use their trunk yet, and they swing it around and are very clumsy with it, which is always quite fun to see. And elephant bulls like this, you often see sort of drag marks in the road, especially elephant bulls that are going into must. I think it's something like the sensation of the sand on their trunk that they enjoy. But their trunks aren't quite long enough to actually trip over. You see how it extends right to the ground. They're just a little bit longer than what they need to be to touch the ground, but not quite long enough to be able to extend close enough to the legs that they are in danger of tripping over it. It is always funny when you see animals have sort of a silly moment. One of my memories that I do remember was not actually with an elephant, it was with a giraffe. And I don't know why I found it so funny, but this giraffe was walking down the road and it kept looking backwards at us. And it was quite curious. And as it was walking, it didn't notice there was a low-lying branch across, the one tree that was above the road. And it turned around to look at us, but carried on walking straight, and it walked straight into this branch. And that was, I don't know, one of the sillier animal moments that I've ever seen. And I just remember laughing a huge amount. And the best was that the giraffe, I'm sure it wasn't actually, but it appeared to be embarrassed. It's again, animals don't feel the emotions that we feel. so you can't really attribute it, but it is sometimes a little bit funny to imagine the giraffe being a bit embarrassed by being bumped on the head by a by a tree branch. This is actually just such a stunning scene. You know, we've got a bit of grey cloud cover in the background, and in one of my favorite sections of the reserve, you can see the mountains in the distance. And if you can see how incredibly vivid green it is at the moment, it is so stunning. We've got a lot of our birds going into their breeding plumage. We saw some southern red bishops just now that were vivid red. And it's just been the most gorgeous morning. And to top it all, we're the only vehicle in this section of the reserve today. So we've been driving around having all of this to ourselves. And then, even better, I see my favorite elephant bull, and I've been able to sit with him for a good half an hour, just watching him slowly drink. What's also quite standing out to me quite a bit in the scene is that his tusks are very white. Now you often see they get a little bit of dirt on them because, you know, they'll put their heads quite close to the ground sometimes to get a bit of mud or spray mud over themselves, and they get it quite a bit on their tusks. Also lean against trees a few times, you know, whether to nap or maybe to just lean in to get closer to the branches, and that can sort of get some marks on their tusk. And while he does have a bit of dirt, especially around closer towards the skin area, you can see there's quite a bit of mud there. And they are fairly clean. And they're just standing out quite prominently. You know, you always, after the rain, it's always quite something that you notice very obviously about elephants, is once it's rained, you'll see that very vivid white standing against that browny grey colour of their skin. So I think what we'll do is we're going to leave him, because he seems to be quite content in having these little sips of water, and we're going to carry on and leave him to his little drinking party.
Now I think the Duke had went deep into that drainage line. It has started to get a lot warmer and sticky and muggy. It's a perfect word to describe what day we're in store for. So I thought we're going to come to Gallagher Pan, a pan we don't always frequent, and just enjoy watching the Egyptian goose and listening to the sounds of the bush.
We've not changed our spot. We're still at the Mara River, but look at what we have here. We have the black-headed herons sunning up. So these usually breed in the wet season, and you find colonies will congregate on either or. There's some hippos aggressive to each other. So you find that these herons will congregate during the high time of the rains, especially a time like now when we have our short rains, and during the long rains. Those two hippos are not happy at each other. It's a bit of a standoff. Like I mentioned earlier, when water levels go low, so hippos always scrabble over for space, and that is evident as what we're watching right now. So those two, the one to the right just walked in, and I think there's a bit of a standoff. Don't get too close. Mothers with young calves will always defend their calves from the big bulls like him. You can see the size difference. Bulls will always be bigger than the cows, and there's another hippo just towards the side. And if you don't win, you walk away. She's walking away right now, walking downstream. The riverbed is not even, so you find that some places where it's deep, rocky, and a little bit slippery. So hippos sometimes need an even riverbed where they'll rest easily. They also pick a spot where the water is not too torrent. The water is at least calm, not fast flowing. So, and these places are always suitable during the dry times, like now when the water level is going low. Back to our herons who are standing up watching the river. Are there any otters in the Mara River or in the marshes? I've seen otters in the marsh, in the Musiera marsh, but that was a few years ago. So I can't really tell if we have them now, but I'm sure we do, but only that we don't get to see them often at times. So your answer is yes, we do have, but we don't always see them. So the mother hippo was defending. You can see the calf just walk out on the riverbed there, and that's the reason why she was not happy of that bull that was getting too close. We've always seen lots of fights during the dry season, and that has made lone hippo bulls to walk out of these rivers and go and live in marshes or in small ponds that they always find preferably better than being in such a pod. Our herons are just watching carefully, watching to see if they can find any fish, because they often feed in shallow waters, spearing fish with their very sharp pointed bills. They eat frogs, and sometimes you can see them eating snakes out here. It's been a very wonderful morning. We've seen lots of activity. We've seen lions, leopard, birds, hippos. And I'm sure that hippo is almost saying goodbye because we're almost getting to the closure of this show, getting to an end. So join us again this afternoon on our sunset drive. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions. We'll sure be ready to answer them in the afternoon. Looking forward for a nice activity also in the afternoon. At this very time, I'll only say kwaheri.